Relate decimals and, percents. We have gotten through saying that every fraction can be written as a decimal, every decimal can be written as a fraction. The one part that we have left out up until now is how percents relate to everything. You just gave me a score out of 10. Okay? And it works out really well because it's a power of 10. We should easily be able to say, okay, if you had 8 right out of the possible 10, we would say this is 8/10. 8/10 written as a decimal is, Liam, 0.8. Okay. Now, we said that if you had 2 wrong, which would be the 8 out of 10, you had a C. What percent is a 0.8 or 8/10? Desriana, 80%. How do we go? I love it. Some same people that say they don't understand things. I can see that they're not even watching. No wonder. How do you understand if you don't watch? How do we get from 0.8 to 80, Desriana? That is if we were comparing, you're right, that is if we were putting fractions into percents, right? Because we'd say, oh, percent, the highest percent you can get without extra credit is 100, right? That's the most you can get without extra credit. So you say, oh, 8 times 10 is 100. 8, or not 10 times 10 is 100. 8 times 10 would be 80. That would be 80%. But how do I get from this, the 0.8, to 80? Hint, it has to do with the decimal. Carlos. I'll need to move my decimal. How many places into what direction would I move my decimal here to make it an 80? Frank. Two places to the right. Okay. So if I were to put that into directions, if we said decimal to percent, we would say move decimal 2 places to the right. Get it down as notes. Anytime I want to convert a regular old decimal to a percent, I move that decimal 2 places to the right. A couple of important parts in that definition that I underline. What are they? To and right. It's always to. It's always to the right. For example, if I gave you, tell me what's 0.34, 34 hundredths, what would that be as a percent? Yes, 34%. I went 1, 2 places to the right. So if you know how to count to 2, raise your hand. And raise your right hand if you know how to count to 2. Good. So you know if you're left from your right and you can count to 2, you're going to be in good shape. Okay? I'm not being funny. I'm being serious. Because that's all you're doing. To convert the decimal to a percent, 2 places to the right. And we said it's always 2, and it's always to the right. So for example, if I were to give you 1.3 and say put that into a percent, what would that be? Now remember, 2 places to the right. Carlos? 130%. 1 would give us 13. Another 1, we'd have to put a 0 there. Is there such thing as 130%? Yes, there is. You can have percents greater than 100. You can have percents less than 1. It's possible. So remember that with the rule, it's always 2 places. Like if you were to have 0.07 and I went 2 places to the right, Casimir, what would my percent be? Move my decimal 2 places to the right. My decimal, 2 places to the right. Seven percent. How about 4 as a percent? 4. Where is my decimal in 4? Where is it, Liam? Right there. Now I need to move it. Equals 400%. So locate the decimal, move it 2 places to the right, stick a percent sign after it. No tricks, no bells, no whistles, that's it. Yes, ma'am. Add zeros where? We just did. Yes. Now, we'll also have to go the other way. Percents to decimals. Let's see if we can figure this out. If to get a decimal to a percent, I go 2 places to the right, to get a percent to a decimal, Kayla, 2 places to the left. See? Count to 2. Know your right and your left. So let's say move decimal 2 places. 2 and left. For example, %. Well, the tricky thing, well, not necessarily the tricky thing, but if I have 75%, I need to first of all locate where my decimal is. And as a general rule, if you don't see it, it always comes where? Where is it always if you don't see it somewhere, Dasan? Yeah, it's right here. Okay? So now if I go 2 places to the left, 1, 2, what is my decimal for 75%, Desriana? 0.75. 90%. Again, if I don't see it anywhere, then there it is. 2 to the left, Edsel? 0.9, or you could have 0.90. That's okay. Remember, this last 0 isn't necessary, but if you put it, it's not going to be wrong. Okay. How about 8.3%? That's a possibility. 2 places to the left. Lexus?
3. Oh, never mind.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
Frank? Maya, if I move it once, it's right before the 8s. But I don't move it 1 time. I move it 2. So if I move it 2, I have to put a placeholder in there to make sure that it's where it should be. So, just like before, like for the 1.3, we added a 0. For the 4, we added 2 zeros this way. Same thing. We can add zeros the other way if need be. Okay, just like there. Yeah. It's an 8.3, right? It's an 8. Imagine if you had an 8% on a test. It's like 8.3%, right? 8%. A 3 would be you had a 300%. Is that the same? 3 would be your whole. So just stick to what the directions say. To the left 2 places to convert a percent to a decimal. And then like if you had a, what if you had a 0.07%? It's a percent to a decimal. So I still have to go what? One, 2. So now it's point. A lot of people will get fooled by this, and they'll say, "Oh, that's 7. 2 places will make it a 7." No, not if you're converting a percent to a decimal. Okay. Any questions? You have your directions. You have this all written out in your notes.
Yes.
Casimir? Can I what? Decimal 2%. So it's the same thing as the other, except instead of going to the left, you're going to the right. Decimal, 1, 2 to the right, equals 34. Decimal is 1.3. We went 2 places. 1, 2, gave us 130. Count what 1? No, I count from here. 1, 2. The 1 is included. I didn't just all of a sudden just forget about the 1. Yeah, it's 130. Okay, you're just relocating the decimal and just writing what the new number is. Okay. If you didn't have 4-3 yesterday, and I gave you one, then you have this on the back side. Okay. The rest of you, I'm looking at 4-4. Yes? Redo? Yeah, we're getting there. Okay.